The horizon's edge drifted above the Orion frontier like a silent sentinel, its hull absorbing the glow of distant nebulas. Commander Rhea Solari stood at the primary viewport, hands clasped behind her back, her expression calm despite the tension rippling through the bridge. The ship hummed with restrained energy. Every officer sensed that something old and immense was approaching. "Long-range sensors picking up a distortion," announced Lieutenant Aaron Voss. "Not natural. Multiple signatures, forming a spiral gate." Rhea tilted her head. "Are we reading hyperspace blooms?" "No, ma'am. Something older. Something designed differently." That caught her interest. Humanity had charted nearly every warp method known to the current age. Anything unfamiliar wasn't just a curiosity, it was a warning. "Put it on the main screen." The stars warped, bending into a vortex that spiraled with deceptive grace. A structure emerged, massive and gilded, its geometry unfamiliar yet disturbingly symmetrical. The bridge fell silent as dozens of ships poured out, razor-edged, obsidian black, glowing with runes that hadn't been seen in 6 millennia. Aaron whispered, "Those match the ancient Valari Dominion schematics. The ones we assumed extinct." Assumed. Because nothing that old should have survived that long, let alone returned with a fleet. Rhea didn't flinch. "Open all channels. Let's hear what ghosts sound like." A pulse of sound vibrated through the comms, deep, resonant, ceremonial. Then a voice boomed across human channels, cold and steeped in arrogance. "To the species that calls itself human, you infest the holy worlds of Valari. Vacate them immediately. You have 10 cycles to comply. Refuse, and we will cleanse your kind from our domain." The words echoed across ships and colonies within minutes. Warnings spread like wildfire. Some civilians panicked, others froze, unsure whether to fear or laugh at a civilization that vanished before humanity learned metallurgy. A faint smirk touched Rhea's lips. "Arrogant timing. 6,000 years late and still dramatic." Her second-in-command, Captain Idris Vale, raised an eyebrow. "They're serious. Those ships carry firepower equivalent to early Alliance dreadnoughts. This isn't a bluff." "Maybe not," Rhea replied. "But listen to the tone. They're offended we're here. Not angry at what we've done, offended that we exist." A comms officer signaled her. "Ma'am, incoming message from Admiral Corrin on the Alliance High Net. He wants your immediate assessment. Patch him through." A hologram flickered beside her, revealing the stern face of Admiral Corrin. His voice carried the weight of too many wars and too few victories. "Commander Solari, I assume you've seen the broadcast. Thoughts?" Rhea folded her arms. "Their arrival is intentional, not exploratory. Their formation is ceremonial. They came prepared to threaten, not negotiate." "You believe this is the real Valari Dominion?" Corrin asked. "They kept the name, the symbols, and the ego. That's enough." Corrin exhaled. "We'll need a response. The frontier colonies are already in panic." Rhea glanced at her crew, noting the tension beneath their discipline. "Then let's set the tone." She muted the call briefly, turning to Idris. "Open a fleet-wide broadcast." Idris nodded, fingers moving swiftly. "Channel open." Rhea spoke clearly, her voice steady. "To all personnel across the frontier, the Valari Dominion has returned and issued their ultimatum. We respond in the time-honored human tradition, by refusing to surrender and refusing to panic. Stay sharp, stay calm. We've handled worse." The bridge wasn't prepared for what happened next. Across the horizon's edge, laughter erupted, nervous at first, then genuine, rolling from deck to deck like a spark catching dry tinder. Other ships joined in. Stations followed. Colonies echoed it. The sound wasn't mockery. It was humanity's way of breaking fear's grip. A reminder that this species had survived monstrous wars, rogue AIs, collapsing stars, and internal catastrophes. If ancient conquerors thought threats alone would shake them, they were centuries behind. Rhea returned to the waiting hologram. Corrin stared at her with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. "Did your fleet just laugh at a declaration of extinction?" They laughed at someone trying to intimidate them, Rhea corrected. There's a difference. Corin sighed. Very well. Expect reinforcement orders within the hour. Solari out. The hologram faded. Idris approached. They'll retaliate for that reaction. Of course. Empires that cling to pride always do. Rhea gestured toward the screen, where Valari's ships drifted into formation. What formation is that? Aaron ran the data. Triad Spear. Historically used by the Valari before launching purgation campaigns. So they came ready to fight. Rhea stepped toward the tactical display. We need more than guesses. Begin active scans. I want to know how they built a fleet after vanishing for millennia. Scanning pulses raced across space, brushing the Valari formation. The readings appeared in layers, energy signatures, hull composition, engine structure. And then something unexpected. Aaron frowned. This can't be right. Say it, Rhea pressed. Their power cores are unstable. Like they're patched together. Some components are ancient, others new. It looks like a civilization rebuilding from ruin, not one returning in strength. Idris leaned closer. If they were recovering, why start a war? Rhea considered the question carefully. Because desperation can disguise itself as arrogance. And because they think fear still works. The comms officer interrupted again. Commander, the Valari are broadcasting a second message. Directly to you. To me? Why? They identified the Horizon's Edge as the Frontier Command flagship. Rhea gestured for it to play. The same deep voice returned, but this time sharper, carrying personal disdain. Commander Rhea Solari. You stand at the edge of Valari Dominion. Leave this region or watch your species fall. Rhea answered calmly. High Imperator, humanity doesn't abandon its people. If you want these worlds, you'll have to take them. A low growl reverberated through the channel. Your kind laughs at war. You will regret that insolence. We laughed, Rhea replied. Because fear never saved anyone. The transmission cut abruptly. Silence returned to the bridge, thick but not heavy. Idris finally spoke. They'll strike soon. Yes, Rhea said. And when they do, we'll be ready. Lights dimmed as battle readiness protocols activated. Officers took positions. Shields began charging. Fighter wings prepped for launch. The ship shifted from watchful observation to controlled tension. Rhea watched the Valari fleet glide into a predatory arc. Their vessels pulsed with ancient power and fresh instability, like relics forced into modern warfare. Their arrogance was obvious, but beneath it she sensed something else: urgency, fear, maybe even decline. Idris, she said softly, I want contingency plans for asymmetric warfare. If they underestimate us, we'll use that. Already drafting scenarios, he replied. The first shimmer of Valari weapon systems lit the void. Rhea narrowed her eyes. So the dead empire wakes. She straightened, voice crisp and unwavering. Prepare for contact. And with the first flash of hostile fire streaking across the frontier, the war that humanity laughed at began in earnest. The first salvo cut through the Orion void with lethal precision. Plasma lances streaked from the Valari Triad formation, arcing toward Horizon's Edge and its supporting flotilla. Shields flared gold and green, absorbing the brunt, but the raw force of the attack sent tremors through the ship. Rhea Solari gripped the edge of the viewport, her gaze steady. Evasive maneuvers, full thrusters on Vector Delta. Fighter wings Alpha and Beta, engage and flank the lead ships. Lieutenant Aaron Voss's fingers danced across the tactical console. Vectors plotted, Commander. We can weave between their beams, but they're fast, faster than anything we've seen. That's why we don't play their game, Rhea said, her eyes scanning the fleet. We fight like humans. Unpredictable, relentless, and a little reckless. Idris Vale smirked. So, textbook HFY? Rhea allowed herself a brief smile. Exactly. The Horizon's Edge twisted and spun through space, fighter squadrons darting like predatory swarms. The Valari flagship fired a concentrated barrage, attempting to lock the humans in a deadly pincer. But the humans had learned to improvise. Frigates dropped decoy drones, causing the Valari targeting arrays to misfire. Small explosions bloomed like fireflies, a choreographed chaos in the black canvas of the frontier. Even amid the adrenaline, Rhea noticed anomalies in their opponent's formation. The Valari ships were precise yet hesitant, their firepower not fully synchronized. She leaned over Aaron's console. "Run a detailed scan. Their engines, weapons, everything." Aaron's brows knitted. "Commander, their core outputs are fluctuating. Some ships are running hybrid tech, ancient Valari fusion cores patched with newer human-style reactors. It's unstable." Rhea's lips pressed into a thin line. "A civilization rebuilding from ruin, not from victory." "Good. That makes them predictable, in a way." Her voice came across the fleet's comms. "All units, note the instability. Target core junctions first if engagement escalates. We're not going to just survive this, we're going to exploit it." Amid the battle, a Valari scout vessel attempted a daring infiltration, aiming to breach human sensors and relay tactical data. Fighter wings intercepted, tearing into the alien ship with precision laser strikes. The surviving fragments drifted silently toward a nearby asteroid cluster. Aaron hesitated, scanning the debris. "Commander, some of the wreckage contains data cores. Could be useful, if we can access them." Rhea tilted her head. "Prepare an extraction team. I want everything we can get, ship schematics, logs, anything that explains why they returned after 6 millennia and started a war." Hours passed like minutes. Humanity's first engagement with the Valari Dominion had ended without catastrophic loss, but victory was tentative. Across the flotilla, crews murmured, half in awe, half in disbelief. The humans had survived what had been assumed a death sentence. Rhea didn't celebrate. The scouts' cores, once decrypted, revealed a disturbing truth. "Valari world cores," Aaron muttered, his voice tight. "Many of their homeworlds are unstable. Energy readings show core degradation on multiple planets. Entire colonies collapsing from internal collapse. They're desperate. Desperate enough to declare war," Rhea said softly, fingers tracing the tactical display. "And desperate enough to risk everything on a confrontation they cannot sustain." Idris stepped closer. "Commander, if that's true, why attack us? They're fighting for survival, not conquest. Shouldn't they seek allies?" Rhea shook her head. "Pride doesn't allow it. Korvesk isn't negotiating. He's clinging to a memory of empire, even as his world dies around him. That's dangerous." A sudden alert drew their attention. New blips appeared on the far edges of the sensors, subtle, moving in patterns that didn't match the Valari fleet. "Unknown objects," Aaron said. "Sublight speed, organic signatures, they're enormous. Approaching the frontier." Rhea's stomach tightened. "Zephyr." The name fell between them like a curse. The ancient parasite species had nearly annihilated the Valari 6,000 years ago. Thought extinct. Now, evidence suggested otherwise. She exhaled slowly. "So, this war? It's nothing but a distraction. And if we don't act quickly, it will get a lot worse." Night fell over the Orion frontier, though in space, night was just an absence of nearby starlight. On horizon's edge, Rhea convened a command council. Holoscreens displayed the Valari fleet, the approaching anomalies, and the scattered reports from frontier colonies. "We're facing two fronts," she said. "Valari aggression and something far older. If we underestimate either, we lose. But there's a strategy. Listen carefully." She pointed to the decrypted Valari logs. "They didn't vanish 6,000 years ago. Their empire fell to Zephyr infestation. Some worlds were lost, their fleets scattered, technology decayed. The Valari we see now? Not fully restored. They're scared. That's our advantage." Captain Vale frowned. "Scared or not, they'll strike harder if they sense weakness. Their pride outweighs their reason." "Exactly. Pride can be manipulated," Rhea said. "We lure them into positions where overconfidence becomes their weapon. At the same time, we prepare for Cypher. Scouting drones, sensors, everything. We can't fight both blindfolded. Aaron interjected. Commander, if the Cypher are returning, they won't just attack Valari colonies. They'll consume everything. Humanity included. Ria's gaze hardened. Then we ensure we don't just survive. We adapt. We use unpredictability. We fight like humans, fast, clever, and unafraid. A pause hung over the council. Then Aaron muttered, almost to himself. We're the only ones who've ever done that. Ria's lips curled into a grim smile. That's why we're still here. The next day, a reconnaissance mission brought them closer to the Valari fleet. Through telescopic sensors, Ria observed the flagship, triangular and imposing, engines flickering with unstable energy. Fighters swarmed around it like a protective swarm of insects, but the careful scanning revealed something critical. Valari cores are fluctuating more than we expected, Aaron reported. They can't sustain high-energy outputs for long. If we force prolonged engagement, their formations will break. Ria leaned closer. Good. But don't assume they'll collapse gracefully. They'll take everything they can with them. Prepare boarding teams. We might capture more intelligence directly. A communications alert interrupted. It was a Valari transmission, this time aimed at the frontier colonies. Humans, your laughter mocks the legacy of Valari. Leave our worlds or be eradicated. Ria listened quietly. The words were intended to intimidate, but she saw something else, a tremor beneath the arrogance, the shadow of fear. She turned to Vale. They're bluffing. Or at least they think they are. That gives us leverage. Send a fleet-wide update, maintain defensive posture, no rash attacks, but collect every scrap of intel. And one more thing. What, Commander? Tell the colonies to keep laughing. Fear is the real weapon they expect. Deny it to them. Vale nodded. Message transmitted. Ria returned to the viewport, watching the distant spiral of the Valari fleet. Somewhere behind that proud, ancient formation lay desperation, decay, and secrets that could shift the course of the frontier war. She whispered to herself, more as a promise than a thought. If they think we're weak, they've never seen humanity fight when they're cornered. And in that silent void, the frontier trembled, not from fear, but from anticipation. The Valari capital, Arxvilan, hung at the heart of their reconstructed empire like a crown of obsidian and gold. From orbit, it seemed untouched by time, but Ria Solari knew better. The surface pulses of energy were erratic, fissures of unstable power running through the city grid like veins exposed after centuries of decay. Scans confirm it. Aaron Voss reported from the tactical console. The planet's core is failing. Structural instability everywhere. The fleet's only reason for defending it is ceremonial pride. Ria didn't respond immediately. Pride was dangerous, but predictable if handled carefully. We go in quietly, she said at last. Minimal fleet exposure. Fighters on silent approach. Boarding parties prepped. Idris Vale raised an eyebrow. You're talking infiltration into the heart of enemy territory. Not exactly a reconnaissance run anymore. Ria's gaze didn't waver. It's the only way we understand what we're really up against. If we wait for them to strike fully, we lose. Prepare for extraction contingencies. Nothing optional, this is full commitment. A squad of stealth ships slipped through the outer Valari defenses under a veil of sensor interference. The human pilots moved with precision, avoiding patrol drones and energy barriers that crisscrossed Arxvilan's orbit. The city below shimmered with ancient architecture, towers spiraling like carved diamonds, streets lined with statues of Valari heroes long forgotten. But beneath the grandeur, Ria sensed decay. The boarding party deployed from the stealth ships, magnetic grapples latching onto the city's upper towers. Ria led the team herself, her combat suit humming with energy as she surveyed the alien landscape. The air was thin, recycled through filtration systems designed for Valari biology. Even here, the city bore scars, flickering lights, broken security drones, corridors blackened by neglect. They moved swiftly, silent in the shadowed streets. Ria's communicator buzzed with Aaron's voice, low and urgent. Commander, you're going to want to see this. Records from the Central Archives. On my way, Ria said, gesturing for her team to follow. Inside the Central Archive, holographic interfaces flickered to life. Ria scanned the logs rapidly. Battle plans, fleet schematics, ceremonial directives. Most were operational, but then she stumbled upon the section labeled Zypher Containment Protocols. Her pulse quickened. The Zypher, the ancient parasite species thought extinct, had not only survived, but remnants of their infestation persisted in hidden colonies. The logs revealed that the Valari had been fighting a slow, desperate war against the Zypher for centuries. Their disappearance 6,000 years ago wasn't voluntary. It was survival through dispersion and concealment. A soft groan echoed through the archive. One of her boarding team froze, staring at a central hologram. Commander, this isn't just failing infrastructure, the soldier said. The infestation is active, it's spreading. Ria stepped closer, examining the holographic readouts. She traced the energy signatures back to the planetary core. They're running out of time. Their pride made them attack us instead of seeking help. They want to reclaim dignity before the collapse consumes them. The sound of footsteps drew Ria's attention. A tall figure appeared from the shadows, ceremonial robes flowing and armor polished to a reflective sheen. High Imperator Korvesk himself, his eyes burning with controlled fury. You dare enter my archives? He demanded, voice like grinding stone. Your insolence knows no boundary. Ria squared her shoulders. I'm here to understand, Imperator. Not to fight, yet. Korvesk's gaze narrowed. Humans speak with audacity beyond measure. You invade, steal knowledge, and yet claim prudence. You amuse me, and that is dangerous. I didn't come here to amuse, Ria said. I came to see why the Valari Dominion risked everything on a war you couldn't win. And now I know. She gestured to the holograms. Your empire is dying. Not because of us, but because of the Zypher. You hide behind pride while your world collapses. Korvesk's jaw tightened. Our ways are not for your understanding. You laugh at war without knowing its meaning. Ria's voice hardened, calm but lethal in conviction. We didn't laugh at war. We laughed at your arrogance. You mistake fear for respect. Humanity doesn't bow to terror. We survive, adapt, and we fight. For a tense moment, neither moved. Then Korvesk's eyes flickered, not with anger, but with something else. Recognition. Even the proudest warrior can sense an equal. You speak truth, he said quietly. And yet, you know nothing of what it is to be cornered by annihilation for millennia. I know enough, Ria replied. Your enemy returns. The Zypher are awake. If we don't act, neither of our species survives. A long silence followed. The Imperator's hand trembled slightly over his ceremonial blade. Finally, he spoke, voice measured. Perhaps there is wisdom in your defiance. Temporarily, I will listen. But make no mistake, human, our cooperation is fragile. One misstep, and I will remember why the galaxy feared Valari wrath. Ria inclined her head. We'll take that risk together. For survival, not pride. As they walked through the corridors of Arxvilan, Korvesk reluctantly allowed her access to classified tactical databases. Maps of Zypher hives glowed on holographic displays, massive organic structures, pulsating with energy, encroaching on abandoned Valari worlds. The scope of the threat made even Ria's seasoned crew uneasy. Aaron's voice broke the silence. Commander, these hives, they're growing exponentially. If we don't strike soon, the frontier is lost. Ria nodded. Then we prepare a joint strike. Human tactics, Valari firepower. We combine what each species does best, and we end the Zypher threat before it spreads beyond containment. Korvesk watched silently. The Imperator's pride warred with reason. For centuries, he had believed humans unworthy of alliance. Now, the evidence was undeniable. The species he had scorned might be the key to survival. Ria studied him, reading hesitation as carefully as any battlefield. Imperator, I don't want to fight your people. I want to fight the real enemy. Join me. Fight together. Save your empire and mine. The Imperator's lips parted, then pressed into a hard line. I agree. But let it be known, Commander Solari, the Valari do not surrender. We do not bow. We fight, not for you, not for us, but for survival alone. Ria's lips curved into a grim smile. Good. Because surviving is exactly what humans do best. By the time the humans and Valari emerged from Arxvilan, a fragile truce had formed. Both fleets now understood the stakes. The Zephyr were real. They were advancing. And for the first time in millennia, two civilizations would have to abandon centuries of rivalry to confront a threat neither could face alone. Ria returned to her ship's bridge, overlooking the Valari fleet now traveling in synchronized formation alongside the human flotilla. Her communicator buzzed. Commander, fleet-wide reports indicate morale is high, Aaron said. Even Valari crews are adjusting to this alliance. Ria leaned on the viewport, eyes tracing the stars streaking past the fleet. Morale is fragile, but so are the Valari cores. Pride will be tested. And in the crucible of necessity, humans will adapt. We'll show them exactly why laughter can survive where fear fails. A flash of light from the depths of space reminded her that the Zephyr were already moving. Ria's voice was steady, resolute. All units prepare for the strike. The frontier doesn't wait, and neither do we. Into the lion's den, and we carry humanity with us. The Zephyr hive cluster loomed at the edge of map space like a nightmare grown physical. Massive organic structures pulsated with dark energy, tendrils extending into orbit, veins glowing with alien bioluminescence. Entire asteroids had been consumed, restructured into feeding nodes. Even the Valari Imperator Corvesse's fleet shuddered at the sight. Ria Solari stood on the bridge of Horizon's edge, flanked by Idris Vale and Aaron Voss. The combined human-Valari armada stretched across the void, engines glowing, shields primed. Silence reigned, heavy and electric, before the storm. Status report, Ria commanded. Aaron's fingers flew over the consoles. Scans show energy output from the hive cores unprecedented. They're larger than anything in the Valari logs. If they reach hyperspace capacity, the entire frontier is at risk. Idris added. Weapons and fleet readiness are optimal. Valari formations are synchronized with ours, though they remain tense. Their pride is intact but fragile. Ria nodded. Good. That's exactly what we need. Humans and Valari, one front, one goal, eliminate the hive. The first strike was brutal. Fighter wings darted into the hive's outer defenses, lasers tearing through organic armor, while corvettes fired concentrated plasma rounds at feeding nodes. The hive reacted with lethal instinct, launching swarming biodrones and tendrils that ripped through shields with corrosive energy. Explosions lit the void like fireworks, bodies of destroyed drones floating in the darkness. From the bridge, Ria observed Corvesse's flagship, his Valari captains issuing commands with precise efficiency. Yet beneath the rigid control, she could sense fear, pride tempered by centuries of survival instinct. Commander, Aaron said, pointing at the tactical display. Hive energy readings are converging on a central core cluster. If we hit it simultaneously, we can destabilize the entire structure, but it's a suicide maneuver. Ria's jaw tightened. Then it's exactly what we're going to do. Plot vectors for the implosion drive. I want a coordinated strike from all vessels, humans and Valari. Timing is everything. Idris palmed his face. We'll lose half the fleet if this fails. Then make sure it doesn't, Ria replied, her tone calm, unwavering. We don't get to fail. Not today. The armada surged forward, a synchronized force of wills and weapons. Pilots pressed forward through the hive's defenses, dodging corrosive tendrils and swarms of Zephyr drones. Plasma lances collided with organic armor, sending geysers of energy into space. Ships burned, twisted, and exploded, but humanity's relentless tactics, combined with Valari firepower, kept the hive off balance. On the horizon's edge, Ria coordinated the final approach. All ships, synchronize your cores. Target the nexus points simultaneously. Do not fire until I give the command. Korvesk's deep voice came over the comm, almost a growl. We will follow your orders, human. Do not betray this trust. Ria's eyes met his in the viewport. We fight together, or we die alone. Ready? He inclined his head, silent agreement. Now! A synchronized volley erupted. Every ship unleashed maximum energy at the Nexus nodes. The hive screamed, an unholy, pulsating roar that rattled sensors and shook hulls. Organic structures twisted and writhed, then exploded inwardly as the combined force destabilized the central core. Tendrils ruptured, feeding nodes imploded, and massive bursts of energy cascaded outward. Ria's hands flew over the console, maintaining shield integrity and monitoring critical points. Brace for feedback. The implosion rippled, sucking in the remaining structures toward the collapsing core. Even the Valari flagship rocked violently, energy shields at maximum capacity. Human fighters risked everything to maintain orbiting vectors. Aaron's voice trembled with awe. Core collapse, it's working. Nexus destabilized. A final pulse surged outward, a wave of energy consuming the hive in a blinding flash. The Zephyr threat, centuries in the making, was extinguished. Silence returned, absolute, profound, and heavy with disbelief. The aftermath was staggering. The combined fleet floated above the ruins of the hive, drifting among debris, some ships damaged, others barely operational. Ria exhaled, tension finally leaving her shoulders. Korvesk's voice broke through the calm, quieter now. You humans, you do not falter in the face of annihilation. I misjudged you. Ria's lips curled into a brief, grim smile. You didn't misjudge us. You just assumed fear would dictate our actions. It doesn't. For the first time, a sense of camaraderie replaced the rigid formality between the species. Pilots cheered, Valari crews hesitated, then joined, their own pride mixing with relief. Two civilizations who had eyed each other with suspicion now shared victory. Idris leaned over. Commander, the frontier is safe. For now. Ria's gaze remained on the stars, distant lights of colonies still flickering. Safe is relative. But today humanity didn't blink. And neither did the Valari. That's progress. Back on Horizon's edge, Ria convened a final post-battle council. Maps of destroyed hive clusters and damaged fleets glowed on holoscreens. We've demonstrated that cooperation can overcome the impossible, she said. Valari cores are damaged but salvageable. Humans sustained losses, but we adapted and executed flawlessly. This isn't just victory, it's proof. Aaron shook his head in disbelief. You make it sound simple. Millions of lives on the line, and now what? No, Ria said, voice firm. We rebuild. We repair. And we ensure the frontier remains safe. The Valari and humans, both stronger because of what we face together. Korvesk's image appeared, flickering slightly, but steady. Commander Solari, humanity has earned my respect. You have laughed at war, survived where others would crumble, and led with clarity beyond your years. The Valari will honor this alliance, cautiously, but sincerely. Ria inclined her head. Good. Pride can remain intact while survival guides action. That's something worth remembering. Weeks later, Ria walked the streets of a newly reinforced human colony, the stars above shining untouched by alien war. Children played near sensor towers, soldiers trained without fear, and civilians went about their lives with cautious optimism. News from Valari worlds indicated recovery efforts underway, an empire reborn, scarred but humbled. Idris joined her quietly. Think they'll ever forget what happened? Ria glanced at the horizon, the twin moons reflecting in her eyes. Maybe not. And that's fine. Let them remember. Humanity doesn't wait for permission. We don't surrender. We adapt, we endure, and we laugh at threats that can't break us. A distant transmission reached her from Korvesk, formal yet tinged with newfound respect. Let this day be remembered. Two civilizations, united against annihilation, prevailed. Humanity has shown what it truly means to survive. Rhea smiled faintly, letting the weight of her command settle. Then let the universe remember this day, the day humans didn't blink, and the dead empire learned to respect the living. Above, the stars gleamed, indifferent yet eternal. Below, life persisted, fierce and unyielding. And for the first time in millennia, humanity and Valari looked to the future not with fear, but with defiance and hope.